Hi guys, welcome to our first fall webinar. It's hard to believe it's that time of year already. While everybody's getting in here, go ahead and familiarize yourself with the chat location, because click on that little, it's two icons, little word bubbles, and say hi. And if you want to say where you're from, put in your city and we'll do a little shout out while we get everybody in here. Got a lot of great things to share with you. Can't wait to introduce our guests. And greetings to Daniel, and we've got Ron, Giovanni, Brian, BJ. Welcome. Thanks for taking some time to learn today. Ron out in Las Vegas. Good to see you. And Texas, we have Orange, Texas visitors. We have Daniel from California. Salt Lake City, Donald. Greetings, guys. Little Rock, Diane. Fort Myers, Gene. Tracy in Kentucky. Well, good. Getting a good mix across the states. And I'll pop up a little question a little bit about how many of this will be your first time buying an RV. So actually, I'm going to just throw up that poll right now while we're getting started. And then we will introduce and get rolling. So here we go. Answer this question. I'll tell you what the answer is in a second. While we're answering that, let me introduce you to our two guests. On the left, we have Kelly Tussing. He's been here at RV Wholesalers for how long, Kelly?
It's a good question. 16, 17 years.
And your role is as a
Just
manager.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
No, mainly I do finance, sales manager duties, things like that.
Nice.
Yep.
Thanks. And Lane Wisner.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Lane's been serving here as a specialist, helping people figure out which RVs fit for how long?
5 years now.
5 years, and
Yep.
brings a lot of camping experience, right?
Oh yeah.
Camper,
Yep. Have my own camper, everything like that. So whenever I'm not here, try to get out and enjoy the outdoors like everybody else out there.
Nice. Well, cool. Sorry, I forgot to publish that poll, but now you should see it. Go ahead and pop in your answer, and we'll let you guys know how many are looking at your first RV. And we're here to help, regardless of where you need to buy your RV. As Kelly has often said, can't sell all the RVs.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we would love to, even with this year, it's been a spike in business with first-time buyers with the COVID and everything with that going on. People want to get away from the hotels and the cruise lines and things like that. So, but we still can't sell them all. As much as we would love to, there's hundreds of thousands of RVs sold every year, and we kind of just touched the iceberg of that. So tip of the iceberg for us is, a couple thousand units where, we're not going to sell hundreds of thousands. It's just not going to happen. So, if we can help people save a few dollars along the way, that's just, we'll get rewarded in the long run for that.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure you see a lot of scary stories, especially you, Lane, when you're on the phone with your customers and probably seeing things that probably turn your stomach.
Oh yeah, for sure. No,
with other dealerships.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of stories that are out there in terms of hidden fees and dealerships that are for lack of a better term, taking advantage of these new people that have just now jumped into the market due to the situation we're all in here. And so we see a lot of people doing the same thing. Everybody's going and buying campers right now. And so there's a lot of dealerships that are, out there price gouging right now because they know that whether you are new to the industry or been in the industry for a while, they know that they can take advantage of you at this time just because there's a lot of people out there buying. That's for sure.
That's frustrating. I remember down in Orlando, there's a gas station right by one of the outlet malls near Disney, and the gas is $5.40, I think. and everywhere else is $2. And it's that way. I mean, year round, it's always $5.40. Like, how do they get away with that? But they know they can because they're in the right place. And
Exactly. And you have no choice but to buy it from them in some of these situations. And, these dealerships that are doing the price gouging and things like that, they know that somebody's going to buy it, and so if it just happens to be, that particular customer, then they got away with murder, for lack of a better term.
Well, I will, I knew that this probably was happening, but I was out at the factories last week, actually last Thursday at Goshen and Elkhart. I won't say which factories, but one of the guys that was pretty high up in the factory, he was just talking about how he's noticing that there's quite a few dealers that are doing that. And to hear that from the factory kind of confirmed to me, like, it's not just me thinking that's happening.
Right.
You guys hearing about it once in a while. It's legitimately it's happening, but which is sad. But we're here to help you. And you mentioned hidden fees. Why don't you talk about that? What kind of things what do you need to really watch out for?
Yeah, for sure. So, there's certain things that automatically they're going to be charged regardless of what's going on, right? And so you obviously have your dock and title that every state's going to charge at least something for it. Depending on what county you're in will depend on how much gets charged of that. Typically, our dock and title fee here is $295 in our county in Ohio is $295. So, other counties are a little bit cheaper. Just depends on what county you're from. I know out in California, their dock and title is up in the 400s. So it just completely depends on where you're from. You're also going to see factory freight be a huge factor in a lot of these pricings out there. And a lot of dealerships aren't necessarily disclosing this information. In fact, just before I actually got on this webinar, I was talking to a customer out in California here, and he was basically saying that the dealership was showing that they were within $300 of our pricing, which in a sense, if they were, right next to the factory, I can understand that. Anyone has the ability to drop down to our pricing of what we sell at here at RV Wholesalers, but once he dug just a little bit deeper and just scratched the surface, he noticed that they are out in California, obviously. And so they did have a very large factory freight charge that they did not disclose when they were talking numbers. Even when he asked for what's my price out the door, they didn't disclose the $4,200 factory freight charge to get it out to California. So
most of the time,
crazy.
The dealership, once you go to sign the paperwork, then they're going to, you drive 6 hours and then you get there to sign paperwork and the kids have already picked out their bunks and everyone's happy and they got it hitched up to the truck and they go in to sign paperwork and then that $4,200 fee appears. Well, that's when, do we want to turn around, honey, or do we want to just, we were going to have to pay for it anyway. They had to get it here. So then you kind of find yourself or the customer, between a rock and a hard spot. Do we turn around and go home without the unit? Kids are upset, drive 6 hours back or whatever the distance is, or just bite the bullet and pay it. Where and factory freight's going to happen no matter what. Regardless. It's just whether you see it up front or you don't. And a lot of times dealerships will pack it into their unit subtotal and things like that. So, we've kind of seen all different kinds of ways that it's most of the time, though, it's at the last minute because, they're banking on, hey, what's the chances that they're going to leave?
Exactly.
Probably not going to leave.
Fairly slim chance.
Now, we hear these stories, so people have left, right? I've had people come in and say, well, they tried to sell me back the jacks that were on the camper. Well, it doesn't even make any sense. But I can show you this price to get you here and bank on that you aren't going to leave. And they're not looking at it as a long-term relationship. We've always said we want to sell you your third RV. What does that mean? Does that mean we're greedy and we want to sell you 3? No. It means we will got to take care of you the first 2 times for you to come back. Because, anyone can get burnt once and then maybe get talked into coming back a second time. Right. But you're never going to go back a third time if you got taken advantage of twice. If you do, you're foolish anyway. But
that's why they're on here. They want to learn.
Right. But that's what we want to do. We want to sell your third RV. And we can't do that by taking advantage of people, one, let alone twice, when you get that second opportunity. And that's not to say that we aren't going to make mistakes and things like that. It's just like right now. A lot of people aren't understanding that the factories are backed up. They're way out. They're right now. You order a camper, you're probably going to get it after the first of the year. Now, that doesn't mean that the factories aren't telling us, hey, it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks roughly. And there could be part shortages. And sometimes they're going 12 weeks. I mean, we're just kind of relay the information that we get, but we're not going to tell you you're going to have the unit tomorrow. And we just knowing that we just want to get the sale and then hope that you're going to
not back out.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's that those are the kind of conversations that we try to have and just be upfront with our customers to make sure that, hey, you kind of know, does that mean that we might tell you 6 to 8 weeks and it comes in 10 to 12? No, but we're telling you with the information that we're given. Now, again, they just had lumber shortages. They've had AC shortages. I mean, there's been hundreds of things that have kind of pushed everything back. And that's obviously new people coming into the market. So there's been a spike in business that we've kind of seen on our end. And I mean, that goes back to the price gouging thing, though. I mean, we've been kept our pricing the same. I mean, the only time we've taken any sort of price increases if it's come from the factory. So like the lumber shortage, they took a hit from the lumber companies. So our prices went up. It's not anywhere where we took our margins up, but the factory's price goes up, our price goes up. So, but we don't charge you any more to order a unit. I mean, normally we have 500, 600, 700 units on the lot right now. I mean, I think we're 100-ish. So, I mean, it's just something we're not really used to, but at the same time, you can still get into a unit now, not to kind of as a sales pitch, but if you're looking at, hey, I just talked to a customer, I want the unit in March. Well, you're probably going to want to order it pretty quick. I mean, normally you would order that unit in January to get it in March. Now, if you wait until January, you're probably going to be already missed a month or two of camping season, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, and then that situation too, even if the camper does come in early in some of these situations, what's the worst thing that can happen? It sits at your house for a couple of days, or a month maybe. No,
and I always get another thing that people have always kind of asked, especially this time of year. Well, I don't want to just buy it and put it in storage. Mm-hmm. Well, you can buy it. It's coming with a 12-month manufacturer's warranty. So it's going to sit in storage 1 3-month period, 4-month period of that 12-month warranty anyway. Whether it's what I tell people is put it in now, then when it comes out, you still have warranty versus waiting. Then it goes in. Then when it comes out of storage, then you don't have any warranty. There's things that pop up. It's going to be in storage for 3 or 4 months, no matter when you buy it during that warranty period.
Whether it's this winter or next winter, either way, it's going into storage. And regardless, one of the most times that you find stuff that's wrong with it is right after you de-winterize and you start running your water again and things like that. That's when you just find out what winter did to your camper.
Len, you said something about asking what is the out-the-door price. I like that. That's a good idea, just to make sure that you know what that is. Can you ask for that in writing?
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough just because, if someone wants to be shady, they can be shady, right?
Yeah,
I can tell you, hey, this is your price. Here it is on paper. It's $25,000, and you can still get there, and they can still tack that. Well, we had to get it here from the factory. I mean, you didn't think we teleported them here, so that can still happen. I mean, it's less likely to, so definitely get it in writing. As far as try to get an itemized report of what the pricing is, things like that. And
the biggest thing is when you do get that in writing, just have it being noted that after I do my deposit, if this does change even 1 dime, 1 penny, 1 cent, it doesn't matter that I'll get my deposit back. Even if it does state clearly it's a non-refundable deposit, make sure that there's another clause in there that if it does change off of said number, that way I can get my money back. So that way you are still covered. That's the most important thing, is that you don't get taken advantage of with all these extra fees being added on. Now, if a dealership's being straightforward and they're telling you this fee, and this fee, then that's fine. As long as you guys are understanding that these are the fees that are added and this is going to be my out the door price. Can you put that in writing? Yes, I can put it in writing. If it changes for anything off of this amount, do I get my deposit back? And if that dealership can't say yes, just know that you need to run away as fast as possible.
Well, and that's one of the things you should probably ask. How much is the documentation fee? How much is the PDI fee, which is a pre-delivery inspection? How much is the freight? How much is the title fee? Just break it down individually. Then they can tell you, hey, this is what we have in freight. This is what we have in PDI. And that's another thing. I know a lot of times, like a pre-delivery inspection. So we go through all of our units here before the customer comes and picks them up. So we go through and test the water systems, the gas systems, give them a bath, things like that, to where, but I mean, I've heard of places out there charging thousands of dollars for that. And again, that's fine. but at least know what it is up front, not when you get there and they're like, well, you wanted the gas checked, right? So it didn't blow up. Well, yeah. Well, there's
that's
no
how they do
$2,000.
it. Yeah,
right.
And that's how they do it too. They do it as a way of
Making use like
exactly.
you're foolish. We
not that I'm sorry that I didn't mention it. It's, hey, you should have known that we had to walk through the camper with you to show you how things work. You didn't want to figure it out yourself, did you? You didn't want to check YouTube, did you? And, Kelly already mentioned we didn't teleport it here. All of this other stuff, we had to clean the camper, didn't we? So all of these things, that's how they come about it, is saying, hey, we had to do this, but you didn't think we wouldn't charge for it? Like, how foolish of you not to think that. And so that's how dealerships will come at it when it comes to adding those fees. So that way they don't have to claim fault themselves. So that way they put it back on the customer. Again, they're not there for the long-term relationship. They're just there for the short-term game.
Let's take a couple questions. David asked, if I purchase a travel trailer from RV Wholesalers, do I pay your dock and title fee or the Utah dock and title? How does that work, Steve?
So you're going to pay our dock and title because Ohio is a forced title state. So that's the big piece of it. So you're going to pay ours. Now, when you go to register the unit, you'll pay your sales tax in Utah, and then you'll pay whatever it is to get your plate. It's different in every state. Like in Ohio, it's like $38.
Exactly.
Get you the metal tag on your unit. We'll send it with a 45-day paper tag. And then you'll pay your taxes, whether that's whatever the percentage is. You'll pay that when you go to register it. And then you do the state-to-state title transfer to get it into a Utah title. And then you'll get your permit plate. So you'll technically still have some. Most likely, though, it's going to be just for the actual tag itself. You're not going to pay for, a dock and title because you're technically not doing that there.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes, like a lot of banks and DMVs are electronic title. And then if you want to get a paper title, you're going to have to pay in addition for that. But those are kind of some basic $14, $8 charges, just depending on what it is in your county or state.
Well, and that's when you start getting into the weeds too on who gets charged on what and when gets charged who. The main thing is that you guys, you're paying your sales tax if you purchase through RV Wholesalers. You're not paying Ohio tax or anything like that. You're paying whatever the dealership has to do to be able to get you your title, which is that dock and title. And that's the whole process of dock and title. Documentation and title fee is just the process to get your title to your state. So that way you can go through for that. So, and then Kelly mentioned some other things that might come up along the way, but it starts getting into the weeds when you get down that deep and things like that.
We're going to have a recording that's going to come out to you guys. So after about 2 hours, you'll get an email after the event, and then you can just skip back through. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can just jump to a part where you want to re-listen to something or miss something. So that'll be coming your way. We're going to get into trade-ins and then financing and then extended service contracts and warranties. So a couple of these questions will be answered here shortly. So I don't want you to think we're ignoring you, Roberta and Diane. Actually, trade-ins. What do you guys recommend for that right now?
Right now, I would probably recommend selling it outright. As much as we would love to have your unit or any dealership would. Right now, with their, like I'd mentioned before, we have 10% of the units that we normally have out here. So, we would love to have them as well as any other dealership most likely would love to have it, but you're probably going to get more out of it if you sold it on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or eBay or something like that. So, that's just, you can put an extra couple bucks in your pocket. Now, there's always benefits of trading it in. You don't have to mess with it. You get a break on the taxes if you're buying new, some things like that. But personally, right now, I would probably sell it outright. That's where you're going to probably put the most money in your pocket. And again, that's not to say you necessarily will, but I would definitely look at that option. Now, like what we'll do a lot of times on an ordered unit, we can run it with the trade. And then if you sell it between now and the time the unit comes in, pull it out. Now, most dealerships probably wouldn't do that because typically they're going to bump their sale price of their new unit to show you more for your trade. So, that's one of the games that people will kind of do. If I'm normally right, if I'm selling a unit for $25,000, but I don't give you the price until you kind of tell me what your trade-in is, then I give you $10,000 more for your trade, and I sell the new one for $35,000. Well, you think you're getting a great deal on the trade, but really that's why when you're trading in something and you are comparing apples to apples, just always look at the bottom line price. It's because a lot of times people will. That's where like you talk to like people like my dad, they wait to hold that trade to tell any sales rep that they're working with that they don't have a trade until the very end, because they know that those games happen, right? So they want to make sure that they're getting the best price on the new unit before they let the dealer know they have a trade. So, and that's the reason why, because then they already know that the camper was $25,000. Then when you throw in the trade, then you can kind of see where their true numbers are. Yeah. And that's where I think right now, with the market being the way it is, you'd probably be better off selling it outright.
Things like RV Trader.
Yeah, RV Trader, Craigslist.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Facebook Marketplace has been a really hot one right now. And, Kelly nailed it on the head here in terms of talking what the option is when you are trading it in, is just basically asking for that bottom line number of what it's going to be. Regardless of what they're giving you for your trade or what they're selling the new camper as, if it doesn't matter except what the bottom dollar says, so what's it matter what they give you for the trade? What's it matter what they sell you the new one for? The bottom dollar is the only thing that matters, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to pay, is the bottom dollar. And so I could give you $1 for my trade, but if I only sell you the camper for $10,000, well, then maybe I'm on top. And so, but it just depends on what the dealership is, how they do business. Again, but holding that trade back until the end is very beneficial to make sure that you guys get the absolute best deal when going through and trades.
And don't get caught up in what's the dealer giving me for my trade.
Yeah.
Do you really care? I mean, if you want to be at 50 grand out the door and they're at 50 grand, whether they're giving you $0 for it or they're giving you 40 for it, it doesn't matter. So just look at, because again, it's all where you want to be and what you think is a fair deal. I mean, if I'm selling you the new unit for 25 and you think yours is worth 10 and you don't owe on it and you want to be at 15, well, if I'm giving you $0 for it and I'm selling you the new one for 50, it doesn't matter. As long as you feel that you're getting a good buy for it.
Yeah, quite a few new people, 65%. This will be their first RV.
Oh, cool.
So that's awesome. You guys picked a great time, especially with COVID running around, to get into camping. I was had to go on an airplane not too long ago, and I was pretty shocked that there was 3 people still sitting in the seat, 2 on both sides of me, and the camping is the way to go. We're going out this weekend to campground with our family, and pretty stoked about it. So, yeah.
You taking a tent?
That was last weekend with the Boy Scouts.
Tenting, huh? Nice.
Forgot the pad too.
Stoved up.
But yeah, we're gonna get into financing. Roberta had a few questions, and we can start with that. What is a luxury loan for RV purchases? I'm not sure what that means to you guys.
Luxury loan is going to be basically like a RV loan, a recreational vehicle loan. Luxury loan meaning that it's a luxury purchase versus and that's where a lot of times people will think that RV rates are high just because they're used to car rates or mortgages, and those are more of a necessity. So this is more of a luxury loan. But I mean, years is going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 years, depending on the dollar amount. The bank credit profile, things like that. Typically, the rule of thumb is anywhere from $10,000 to $14,999 is going to be a 10-year note. $15,000 to $24,999 will be a 12-year note. $25,000 to $49,999 is a 15-year note, and then 50 plus is a 20-year note. Now, those are typically simple interest fixed rates. Obviously, it all depends on the bank, but that's kind of the rule of thumb. Hopefully that's why it's called a luxury loan, because it's a want, not a need, right? And the way the bank kind of justifies it is if Wayne owns his house, he owns his car, and he owns a camper. If his job goes south or his wife loses their job or whatever, and he's got to miss one payment, it's probably going to be his camper, because that's more of a fun thing. It's not his house payments. That's probably going to be a priority. The car that he needs to get back and forth to work is going to be a priority. So that's why there's just a little more risk there for the bank with it being a luxury loan. So that's why the rates are going to tend to be a little bit higher.
That's why they stretch it longer too,
right,
so you can afford it.
Right. They don't. I mean, if we set it up on a 5-year note on a $50,000 unit, I mean, your payment's going to be a couple grand a month. Versus a 20-year note, it's going to be $300-400 a month. So it's a lot more manageable if you do get in a pinch. And a lot of times the government does allow us to write the interest off, just like you do on your mortgage. That kind of just depends. So just double check with your accountant per the year. So awesome. Crushed it. So, but that's kind of one benefit. Yeah, the rates are a little bit higher, but if you can write the interest off, because the trailer does have a full usable bathroom, things of that nature, helps you out.
Nice, that's good.
Good question.
So if you had, would you recommend, say you had an option between 12 and 20, would you recommend doing the longer and then just paying it off faster?
I would, yeah. I actually just ran into that scenario the other day. I told them a 20-year note, and they're like, "What? I didn't even finance my house for 20 years." And I'm like, "Well, can we run it for 10?" And you can. I mean, it's whatever you feel comfortable with, right? But for one, why strap your payment to double? If it's at $400, why take it to $800, whatever the dollar amount is? And if you actually pay the $800 on the $400 payment, you actually have more money applied to principal every single month. With it being simple interest, the interest is recalculated daily off of the principal. So you actually end up paying it off quicker than the 10 years, making the same exact payment. And you obviously don't strap yourself to that. So, and again, a lot of times people want to talk to their financial advisor. I mean, if you just go to Google and type in effective interest rate calculator, and you can punch in, hey, if I pay an extra $100 every month, or it's just no different than like for a while, biweekly payments were kind of a huge thing going around. If your payment's $200 a month, pay every 2 weeks, pay $100, and you'll get that extra payment in there. Same type of thing. Obviously, this is just overfunding the loan. You have more money applied to principal, so you'll pay it down quicker.
Interesting.
Yep, good question.
Let's see. What other questions we have? For full timing, Class C, what's the best RV for living in 24/7?
I mean, what I've always kind of told people, when I was in sales, is there's no such thing as a 4 seasons unit. I mean, a lot of people argue that. I mean, it is what it is. I would tell you that the closest thing you're going to get to a 4 season unit is going to be like a Redwood or like a Landmark or something along those lines. What you're going to want to look at is something that's going to have a little bit thicker sidewall. It's going to have upgraded insulation, has an option for dual pane windows, things like that. But I mean, if it's 20, 30 degrees below zero and the wind's howling, I mean, it's probably a lost cause. But I mean, that's why I say there's really probably no such thing as a 4 seasons. But if you were wanting to, hey, I want to live in it and I want to go to Florida in the winter and I want to head north in the summer, yeah, you'll be fine. But that's kind of what you would be looking at, something like that. Now, that's not to say, you can't get a nice Class A motorhome and kind of do the same thing, because you're always staying in that climate. You're not going really, really cold. And you're not really, really hot in the summer. That's kind of the way I would pitch that. Now, there's some people that are working in the oil fields and in the winter, and they got to put straw bales around the fifth wheel and do the skirting and all that stuff. That's about the only way you can do it. Good question, though.
Where can MSRPs be found? Talk about that a little bit. Good luck finding them.
Yeah, it's crazy. MSRPs is a honestly, it's a made up number. Any dealership can make up what the MSRP is on the camper, which is the craziest thing that anyone's ever heard of, and most people don't believe it when you tell them. The MSRP is really just a number that's kind of put together.
Well, and they think about it, and they used to come in the packet we used to get with the camper. Now some have them, some don't, and sometimes they're in the camper, sometimes they're not. And I think that they just want to kind of leave it open, because it's not like a car, right? People always ask, where's the window sticker? That's the MSRP. It's on every car. I can compare my options to your options on my truck versus your truck, figure out, hey, is it the same pricing, same options? That way you can kind of figure all that out. So there's a benefit there. And that's what most people are used to. That's where I always kind of go back to. People typically have bought a car or truck. That's just a fact. If we had 100 people in the room, 99 have bought a car or truck, 15 have bought a camper. So what are we going to compare it to? We're going to compare everything about the RV industry to the auto industry, and it's just not that. MSRP means nothing, like Lane said. The service and the warranty, which I'm sure we'll probably touch on, is completely opposite.
The loans
service,
are
you can take
completely
it. Yeah, the rates are different. Service, as far as you buy a Ford truck, you can take it to any Ford dealership. You buy a Honda, you can take it to any Honda dealership, East Coast to West Coast. So when I buy a camper, I'm assuming I can do the same thing. Well, that's not the case either. So, I mean, it's just kind of always, and it has nothing to do with just people don't know, right? I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you haven't experienced buying 4 or 5 cars in your life, or campers, so you just don't know. That's where it kind of gets tough. And I mean, that's where we've kind of just educate people and try to help them out as best we can.
That's good. Thanks. Couple more questions. Roberta, let's see. My vehicle is financed through Chase. Can I do a trade-in for an RV along with the money?
Some dealerships you can do that at. Us as a dealership, we don't typically see that. We can always look at it though.
What are they looking at?
They're looking to trade a car in for a camper. Yeah.
We have every once in a while.
Yeah.
Now, some dealerships I've seen own like a
They're
split car,
car and camper dealership,
which would probably be a better way to go. And again, same way with that, I would probably sell it outright. I mean, I've talked to a lot of used car dealerships and they can't get inventory either. So, I mean, one of the other finance managers, he just bought a new vehicle and he just sold his existing car to a used car lot. And they gave him like $3,000 more than he was going to get on trade. So just sell it and probably be better off.
If folks have an RV that they're wanting to sell, how do they figure out the price? What's the?
Just call. You can call us. Call us. We're pretty good with helping people find out what to list things for. But also, if you wanted to go onto NADA.com, they've got listings on how you should list it and things like that on their website. But again, like I said, you could always give us a call. We can let you know what a fair price is to get for it based on what you're telling us. Or if you want to do your own research and, whatever works, though, we're free.
Yeah. I'll pop your number up here in just a second. So we have that. Charles asks, do they look at loans different if you are going to use this as your residence full time?
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, they definitely look at it differently. They don't write it at all. You can't let them know that. Okay, campers aren't meant to be lived in, and truthfully, they won't write you the loan if the bank ever does find out that you are living in it full time.
I think there's maybe 1 or 2 banks out there that will, but it's same with like insurance because it's what's a camper? A recreational vehicle. So it's on the weekends. It's and not even 6 months in use, but just as a full-time 12 months, 24/7, it's just not going to, for one, it's not going to hold up because it's not meant to be used like that. Now, it's not saying people don't do it. Obviously, there's thousands of people that probably stay in their camper full-time, fifth wheel motorhome, what have you. But like what Lane's saying, the bank, it's just not a really good option for the bank, so they try to steer away from it. And I have heard over the years that there are a couple banks that are starting to do that, and I don't know if they want more money down or whatever, but good question though. Same way with like insurance though. I mean, and I know there's some insurances that will do it, but I think the premium's a little bit higher, so just keep that in mind.
Is Gaap insurance taxable or tax deductible?
It's taxable.
It is taxable.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. There's something about financing. There's a secret that I haven't heard until I heard you guys talk about this.
Probably shouldn't tell them.
Okay. No. All right. Let's move on.
All right.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, guys. We get paid to write the loans for these national lenders out there. And any dealership that does third-party financing gets paid. Such as your car dealerships, your boat dealerships, some jewelry stores that use third-party lending. I mean, anyone that uses third-party lending does get paid from the bank to write their loans, to basically bring them business, right? And that's a great bargaining chip to use when you're looking to try to get your best deal from your dealership, your car, boat, RV. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as if you can tell them, listen, I will finance through you guys, but this is the price that I want. Okay. And you can help use that as a bargaining chip because they do get paid money. That's a wonderful thing that, now you guys know, and anyone who listens to it, we know we're very upfront about it. We let people know, hey, look, we get paid to write loans. And, if you want to, finance it for at least a year on one of these simple interest loans that Kelly's been talking about, by all means, please do so and take the money that we're giving you, pay it off in the year, pay your principal down almost immediately, and you pay about $150, $200 in interest if you're a true cash buyer. So a lot of great benefits to financing through the dealerships.
Well, and it's just like even with like Ford credit or anything like that. I mean, you always want to look at the perks. I mean, see what's available to you. I mean, even if you had the cash in the bank to buy a new Ford truck, if it makes sense to finance through Ford, find out what the details are. I mean, if they're telling you got to keep the loan for 7 years and pay 2% interest, well, that probably doesn't make sense. Now, if they're willing to give you some sort of kickback and then you only got to keep the loan for a certain period of time, I mean, look at it on all angles. Just like a lot of times people always think that 0% is better on a car or vehicle. It's not always the case. I mean, run the numbers for yourself. Just like when you go in and buy, if the rebates are better than what you can get your own financing for versus the 0%, probably better off taking the rebates, getting your financing at 2.9, and then you're going to find out that the $6,500 that you got in rebates was better than the amount of interest you would save at 2.9 versus 0. So, I mean, always kind of run those numbers, and that's the same way with the financing. I mean, the banks pay the dealerships reserve for that as a kickback, and we as a dealership pass that money back to our customers.
Are we talking like a couple $100 here?
No, I mean, it just depends. I mean, a lot of it, I mean, it really depends. I mean, some car dealerships, there's flats and it's a few $100. Some RV dealerships, it can be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. I mean, it just kind of just depends. But I mean, you can always figure on a couple percent. Figure on that. Even when you go and buy a new vehicle, it's worth the option to ask. I mean, they may try to tell you that they don't get any money back from the bank. Obviously they do, because I'm telling you they do. But I mean, and even if they only want to give you a few $100, it was more than you were going to get if you didn't ask. So, I mean, always throw that out there. Hey, I know that you guys are getting paid. Tell you what, you give me your reserve money, I'll finance through you, they're going to do it because they're making money, right? So just get something from it and put a little extra money in your pockets. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, if we can help you save money on your new boat or your new car or your new camper, we're cool with it. I mean, I've always just believed in you help people out, it's going to come back to help you. So
David asked for a little more detail. So say David's a cash buyer. He wants to pay cash, but then he hears about this finance piece that can come back to him in savings. How he asked, won't I pay more interest during the 12 months that I'm saving with you?
Well,
talk about that and how.
And it's just going to depend. I mean, with a car or camper or boat or whatever. I mean, if it's a simple interest loan, then you won't, because the interest recalculates daily off the principal. So if you buy a $50,000 camper and you pay off $45,000 on the first payment, the interest recalculates off of $5,000 that next day versus it's still calculating off of $50,000 for the next 12 months. So no, you wouldn't.
Leave enough for those 12 payments.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, and again, I mean, that's not saying, I mean, there's not, I mean, I don't want to say many, but most people probably don't have $50,000 in their account or disposable money that they want to buy a camper with. So, I mean, even if you wanted to pay it off in 5 years versus 20, I mean, you can still do that as well. So, I mean, always just look at, and like, if you're financing through Ford credit, they may only have a penalty if you got to keep it open for 6 months or whatever that is. Find out what that is. Then you can figure out how much money you're going to spend in interest versus what you're getting to see if it's beneficial for you. It may not always be beneficial. I mean, I don't know what the terms are on. You just want to look at the terms and find out what, because I mean, if the RV dealership says you got to keep the loan open for 10 years and you save $2,000, well, it probably isn't worth it if you're a cash buyer. Now, if you're not a cash buyer, who cares? You're going to pay on the loan anyway. That's where a lot of times people, well, is it really worth it? Well, if you're going to finance anyway, it's worth it. Take the extra $2,000, right? So, I mean, that you always just want to look at the terms and the details. I mean, that's the key. It's just like the 0% versus the rebates. Which one's better? Run the math and you'll find out. Good question, though, David.
Yeah. Brenda has a totally different question. What's a reasonable size of Class C for 2 adults, allowing extra space?
Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, totally. He pointed over to me. You guys, just so you guys know who, what we do here at the dealership. Kelly's our big finance guy, right? So he does numbers in terms of the finance side of things. When it comes to campers and what they do, what's comparable to them, how they operate. That's something I do. And so to kind of give you an idea, guys, when it comes to like travel trailers, a lot of people get confused in the industry right now because there's 100 different floor plans with the exact same layout to them. With the different campers, in travel trailers with a rear living with a bedroom slide, just to name a few, you've got Puma that has one, Heritage Glen that has one, and the 31 RLQS, the 308 RL. Then Wildwood has one without a bed slide, and the 28 RE or the 27 RE. And so there's a million different ones out there that all have the exact same floor plan minus one or two changes. Okay. So when you are looking at these different campers and you want someone to kind of walk you through what are the advantages and pros and cons to one versus the other, if you guys do want to buy from us, but maybe we don't carry the brand that you're talking about, just give us a call and we can basically, help you like, hey, look, that floor plan actually exists in 3 other campers that we do carry. Look at X, Y, and Z. So in terms of the smaller class, or in terms of a reasonable size Class C, you're probably going to be anywhere between 28 to 32 foot. That's a typical one that I see a lot of people, couples, coaches that are staying in on that side. You still keep the bunk over top in case you need someone to, stay over and sleep for the night. But you obviously have your bed. You'll have your dinette. Some of them still come with a couch as well. And so that just depends on your guys' preference in terms of that side of things.
Can you explain real quick difference between Class A, B, and C?
Yeah, so Class A is going to be your big bus front where it's just a flat bus front on the front of it. Engine's actually up underneath you guys. Class C, they actually throw the engine out in front, so it just looks like a truck with a big old, backside to it. And then Class B is actually conversion van. Okay, and so those are going to be like your taller vans that you see sitting up there. Also ones that it looks a lot like the short buses. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the short buses that have been driving around and things like that. Some of the big taxis that have that really tall top on the top of it. So those are going to be light Class Bs. Those are a little less common than you see Class A, Class C, as those are pretty much the most common ones out there. So
we've had some questions about warranties or extended service contracts that are really called. Teach us a couple of things about that. I know there's 2 different kinds. We're going to get into that. But should you even buy a warranty or extended service contract? Something like this.
On something like this, definitely.
On campers, yeah.
I mean, I don't know because I'm torn. I mean, that's what I do all day. If you ask me, would I buy one on a car? If my wife's driving it, yes, because she's going to put about the full warranty worth of mileage on it in 1 year. But normally I don't on a car just because you get a little bit more than you would get, say, on a camper or a motorhome or what have you. Because with a new vehicle, automobile, you're getting typically a 3 or 36,560 drivetrain powertrain. So you're getting a substantial coverage, right? Now, what I always tell people on a camper is it's a no-brainer. And the reason I say that is, and that's coming from a person that I just told you, I typically don't buy them on cars and things of that nature. Now, I mean, our other finance guy here, he buys them on everything. I mean, it's stick of gum, whatever, he's buying a warranty on it. So on a camper, though, it's a house on wheels for one, right? So it's going to break. It truly is. And I mean, whether you're buying one from us or you're buying one from the neighbor dealer or you're buying one from your brother-in-law, it's going to have issues. It's a house on wheels. It's vibrating. It's jarring. And a manufacturer, and this is kind of a vague across the board statement, is typically going to give you a 12-month limited manufacturer's warranty. Now, all the components on a camper, air conditioners, refrigerators, water heaters, furnaces, all that stuff isn't made at the factory, right? So they really can't, as much as they would love to put a 10-year warranty on a camper and own the industry, they know that's not feasible. So structurally, sidewall construction, floor decking, roof decking, things like that you're going to get a little bit more of a manufacturer's warranty on because they build it in-house. That's what they know that they can control, right? So, but the other stuff, the vibrating, the jarring, I mean, all it takes is one wire that pulls out. And most components, ACs, for instance, I've never seen our shop work on one. Maybe a couple times in the almost 20 years I've worked here. All we do is pull it off and put a new one on. And that's at any other dealer. I mean, it's just, they're kind of an enclosed system. If it goes bad, it quits, what have you. I mean, if there's a couple things they can check, if not, they pull it off and put a new one on. Most service contracts, if you get an exclusionary one, which is the only one to buy, that's what you want. You want that on a camper. I recommend it. Just because, again, we try to just be upfront. It's a house on wheels. You're going to have issues. That's a fact. It looks like Lane almost.
Give me some dirty blonde hair. Hey, I don't want to interrupt or anything, but I'm reading one of these comments here that came through here from Jessica, and I just had to address it right now. Basically, for anyone else who can't see it, it just says we're in the final stages on purchasing an RV. They sent us paperwork to sign. However, it includes the loan application. So they want us to sign the purchase agreement, locking in the price before they approve our credit and give us the interest, or before they give us the interest rate. Is that shady or common? I mean, let's take a step back and actually think about this for a second. The way that dealerships make money is either on gross influx on the camper, or they make it on the financing side. Okay, do me a favor and don't sign anything until you actually know what your interest rate is. It's a reasonable interest rate. It is something you agree to, because this is also part of the deal. Okay, it's not just something that's thrown in at the end of it and says, hey, by the way, here, you can finance with us if you want. They're going to make money off of you and gross up the interest rate if you're not careful by doing that. So please, for heaven's sake, don't sign anything until it's taken care of.
Well, I mean, and again, I mean, that doesn't mean don't finance with them.
Oh, yeah,
just ask them for that money. I mean, if they're going to, and rates on, if you have, just to kind of let you know, and again, I don't know the dollar amount, but I mean, rates are going to run anywhere from 5-6% to 16 to 17%. So, I mean, it's kind of a wide range, obviously, depending on credit, dollar amount, loan to value, things like that.
But it's not down in there in that like 2% that we talked about in like the.
So when they hit you with if you have good credit at 6%, don't feel like they're taking advantage of you. But even at 6%, they're probably still making some kickback money. So just go in and ask for that. I mean, I would.
And let's be honest, and I don't know the situation, obviously, but if we're looking at what you just said right there, they're probably not planning on you financing at this point, or they are planning on you finance, but they probably haven't given you any of that reserve money because you probably haven't asked for it. So instead of signing the paperwork that they gave you right now, ask for more money because you are going to finance with them if you choose to do so. Ask for more money so that we can get that extra and get you actually a little bit better deal. So, this is a perfect example, guys, and this is what I do. Kelly does all day long with talking to people is, hey, is this, something that's supposed to go down? Because if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know that you're not supposed to sign paperwork until you see everything, how are you supposed to know that? And so, sorry to go on off topic there, Tim, but I saw that there.
No, thank you. And let's get back to exclusionary.
Yeah.
That's a big word. What's that mean in the?
So there's two types of coverages out there, typically exclusionary and stated. So exclusionary is what you want. Stated is what you don't want. Stated now is going to be a lot less money. So a lot of times they meaning people who sell service contracts, probably sell more stated coverage than they do exclusionary. So there's probably more of them bought, but there's more upset people when they buy them. And that's kind of where if people typically have a bad taste in their mouth about a service contract, it's because they got burnt by a stated coverage. And the reason they bought the stated coverage is it was very appealing dollar-wise for what they thought they were going to get. So, like, for instance, I always tell people, you go to the dealership and they offer you on a $20,000 unit a $1,000 warranty service contract. That's probably stated. I mean, and stated means it states what components and pieces and parts it does cover, versus exclusionary tells you what it doesn't cover. So exclusionary is going to be, hey, we cover everything on that camper except wear and tear items. Well, that's exclusionary. So tires and wheels, paint and fabric, brake pads, audio speakers, things like that. Now, so it's very, very easy to know, hey, is your AC covered? It is.
It's not a wear and tearable item.
So, but that, if I tell you, hey, I can offer you two different coverages, one for $2,000 or one for $1,000, one's stated, one's exclusionary. Well, I don't really know what that means, so I'll go for the one with $1,000. Then you have an issue and it doesn't cover the fan motor on the AC, and now you're paying $1,500 for an air conditioner. Now you're never buying a warranty again because you had taken advantage of. So that's where kind of people are always like, or I'll talk to people and they'll say, well, let me talk to my father-in-law, or I want to talk to my brother who knows a little bit more about this stuff. And they say, don't buy one. Well, because they got burnt. Are they going to pay for your AC when it goes out? That's what I always ask people, because most of the time that's not going to happen, but they had a bad experience with it. That's the difference though. They purchased something that seemed appealing because it was half the money, but if it's worth half the money or a tenth of the money, if it doesn't pay the bills, that's why you bought it. It's not worth anything, right? So it's not worth the paper it's written on if it's stated, in my opinion. Now, I mean, there may be some rare cases out there when you buy a drill at Lowe's or something that a stated coverage is worth something. I don't know, but typically stated isn't worth it. Exclusionary coverage is the way to go.
Well, and it's like Kelly said, is, when it comes to warranty, you buy it on things you know are going to break. And I've said this millions of times in these webinars before. And it's a joking matter, but it's a real life situation. Okay, where I've got two boys and a wife who constantly change their clothes and are constantly getting muddy and things like that. So my washer and dryer are running nonstop. Okay, I know those are going to break because of the overuse that I have with them, right? And so I buy an exclusionary warranty on my washer and dryer to make sure that they are covered whenever they do break, because I know they're going to break. All right. We've already addressed the fact that when it comes to these campers, the parts are coming from overseas. They're getting put onto these campers and then they're going down the road. All right. You got to think it's came a long way to get to your spot, and then you're going to go drive it on the road. Let's put your house on wheels. Let's put my house on wheels. It's already falling apart now, but let's put it on wheels and let's see how long I can get down the road until something breaks loose. You know what I mean? So you buy it on things that make sense that are going to break, and then you cover yourself for it. Daniel said something about putting together a slush fund and setting aside the stuff off to the side. And that would make sense if the repairs weren't very expensive. If it was, $200 for an air conditioner, and if it was $500 for a refrigerator, and, all of these things, if they were not expensive, but it's not the case with RVs. Okay. With RVs, your AC is $1,500. Depending on which size refrigerator, it can be anywhere between $4,200 and $2,400. And then not to mention your heater. Let's say it's a tankless water heater. That's another $1,000 there. So if you're going to do something like that, you're talking about probably putting $20,000 off to the side when you could have just bought a 5-year coverage for maybe like $2, $3, $4, $5,000, depending on what you're buying.
Yeah,
so
about 10%.
Yeah, usually about 10% of unit subtotal is roughly a good number to run it by. But again, it just depends on who you're buying it through, what they're going to sell it to you at. But typically 10% is a pretty good number to run it off of.
If it's a lot higher, yeah, definitely beware.
Yeah. Jessica asked, is there a benefit to buying the warranty from the dealership or an external company? I tell people, do you want to buy it from someone who has you as a customer or not? I tell my customers, we have your best interest in mind because you're buying from us. You're my customer. You're not that third-party service contract customer. They don't.
You're not.
You didn't buy your camper from them. You didn't buy their $50,000 unit, $40,000 unit from them. So I always recommend, because, and then again, it's a little bit different because we want to sell your third camper, right? So I'm going to make sure that if you, for whatever reason, if you have an issue with that service contract, I want you to be able to call me because I want to go talk to my rep and get it worked out for you. If you bought that service contract through a third party, they don't really have any skin in the game. You already paid them for the service contract. Okay, you don't come back in the next time? They didn't say the camper. They sold you a $2,000 service contract. We sold you, or the dealer sold you a $1.5 million Class A motorhome. Well, I would guess that they probably want to keep you pretty happy. All the way down to, a $10,000 travel trailer. The dealer wants to keep the customer happy if they're in it for the long haul. And that's kind of where we started this whole thing. But we want to make sure we keep our customers happy.
Oh, and like you just said, you're not number 0833YXZ. You're Dave. You're Steve. That's who you are to us and to the dealership if they are in it for the long haul. And so that's where you can make your decision, Jessica, on whether to buy through the dealership or buy from a third party. Because frankly, from everything they're telling me up to this point, I don't know if I would be with them, but I don't know your situation, so I can't, judge unbiasedly from an outside looking in based on what's being said. It's just I would very carefully look over everything that's being sent to you. Also, if you need someone else to do a third, you can call me. Let me go over it for you. I've done that for people before and actually showed people on what to buy their camper for from another dealership because I know I can't sell it. So I have no skin in the game. All I care about is your best interest in mind so you don't get taken advantage of. And then maybe your next camper you might buy from me, or you're going to have some friends and family that might come and buy from me either. So always an ulterior motive, but as long as your customer are being taken care of, that's the main purpose of it.
So this is a good question. So if you're this mom right here in this picture,
is she cooking something, or is she like?
That's like me when I turn the blender on without the lid on. It goes, she goes right up to the.
Roof leaks on her camper, brand new, only a year and a half, not covered under factory warranty.
It's a
but
big
she calls
camper.
Crying. What would you? I mean, she bought it in Ohio, say, from RV Wholesalers.
Mhm.
She's camping or lives in Florida. And how does that work if she doesn't have a local dealership right next to her?
Well,
How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, good question. So we have a nationwide service network with over 2,500 service centers throughout the U.S. and Canada that basically we can use to assist our customers. We have a full team that does nothing but assist our customers in-state, out-of-state. We have 2 separate teams that do nothing but advocate for them all day, every day. So meaning, and again, this kind of goes back to the auto versus the RV, right? The industries. You buy a Ford truck and you buy it in Ohio and you take it to Florida on vacation and it breaks down, you can take it to that Ford dealership in Florida and get it taken care of. Not necessarily the case with a camper. You buy a Rockwood from us and in Ohio and you take it to Texas and you don't have, the Texas dealer that sells Rockwood can tell you that they don't want to work on it. Yeah, I did say that correct.
Well, and it says it right on the back of their brochures. It says it right there that says that they are not responsible for their companies or the people who sell the dealerships that sell it. They're not going to force people to work on their stuff. So, not to insert anything there, but that's exactly what it sounds like is they're not required to,
Well, and that's why we created our network over 20 years ago. It's just because we want to make sure that if you have an issue, and that's not saying that the local Rockwood might work on it. They may.
Yeah, possibly.
Then they may not. So we always just want to make sure our customers are taken care of. Your roof is leaking, your AC quit working, and you're on a once-in-a-lifetime trip, you give us a call. We'll find the nearest place to you. We'll set up the appointment. We'll take care of all that because we don't want our customers to hear, you didn't buy it from us, we're not going to work on it. That's not how we do business, and that's not how our customers will be treated. So we created that network. A lot of people ask me, well, it doesn't make any sense. Well, if it didn't make any sense, what I always tell people is, why would I spend X number of dollars creating and building this network if it was like Ford, Chevy, and Dodge? I wouldn't.
Roughly,
that's why we have it.
Well, and it's not even a cheap amount either, guys. It's roughly about $250,000 a year. Okay, so it's not like it's just pocket change sitting around. That pays for mine and Kelly and everybody else's salary here. And so it's not just pocket change just sitting around that we just throw at it and say, oh, this would be a great marketing tool. We genuinely believe that. And some other dealerships out there will say, hey, you could just take it to any other dealership, any other Rockwood dealership, and they can work on it. And that's true. They can. That was the main thing that you might have missed there. I'll circle back that they can work on it. And so, again, highlighting the word can. They can do it. But at the end of the day, will they do it? Probably not. They're probably going to be pretty ticked that you didn't buy it from them and pay their outrageous pricing. So now you're between a rock and a hard place. Either, if you don't buy it from us, you're between a rock and a hard place. You either take it to that local dealer, deal with his, grief is really what's going on and his frustration.
Well, and most people are using that as a scare tactic.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't buy it. If you don't buy it from me, I'm not going to work on it.
Okay. You're not going to take my money is really what that's saying is that, if you don't buy it from me, I don't want your money.
And as crazy as that sounds, if we work on someone else's unit, we still get paid from the factory, even if it is under warranty. So, then I have a chance to sell you another unit, or you buy parts in our parts store or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's all that is typically them trying to scare you to pay an overinflated price that they're not going to work on it if you don't buy it from them. So but yeah, that's where our network comes in, because we can get you taken care of in Florida, anywhere you travel or camp, and that's a free service to you. You're going to get that access to that network for free. You're getting that free of charge. Our PDI, which I mentioned earlier, it's free of charge. We also have, I don't know if there's anyone from Ohio in here, hopefully, because then they can watch the Buckeyes here soon. We have a couple other things that we offer for our Ohio customers too, like a Buckeye service guarantee. And if you call in, Link can give you some more information on that. I seen Steve asked, do we have places in St. Louis? Yes, we have over 2,500 throughout the United States and Canada. So we can definitely get you taken care of in St. Louis. How do I get it in Vegas? We can ship it right to you. We can meet you partial way. You can come pick it up, however you want to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You guys have been delivering to people's doors way before it was popular. With
Right.
like 20-some years.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, guys, is, I mentioned, at the beginning of this, and for those who didn't catch it, I was just talking to, before I jumped in here, a customer out in California. He was going to buy a camper from a local guy, and the local guy was charging him $53,000. Okay. That was his out the door pricing. Right. And again, guys, when they went and looked at us, we were selling it for 23. And you guys might think I'm exaggerating these numbers, and I'm not whatsoever. If you guys want to see proof, just let me know. Call me after. I can definitely give you guys some information on it. But regardless, I was actually able to deliver it out to him cheaper to his front door, him never have to leaving his house, than for him to actually drive 2 hours north, 2 hours back to go get that exact same camper, and he'd get no more service than anybody, and then we give him more service. So delivered to his front door, save $20,000 roughly, and better service. And obviously it was a no-brainer for him. Obviously it's going to be a no-brainer for you guys as well, if we're able to sell the same camper that you guys are looking at, or find one that would work for you as well. That's the key. You got to find what works for you.
Guys, we're out of time. I've been putting up their contact information. I'll do that at the end too. So you can reach out to Kelly or Lane and ask any questions you want. They'll help you out. And we have something fun coming up tomorrow. We have a whole day, an RV show. We're bringing in a comedian, magician guy. We're doing a band. I mean, we have it all happening tomorrow. We're going to walk through a lot of different types of RVs. So here's a little video, get you psyched about that. And stay with me just a couple more minutes if you don't mind. And we're going to, I have an offer that will help you save some money if you're thinking about an RV. So right after this. All right. We have a lot of giveaways too, from satellite systems to hitches, equalizer hitches, to all kinds of really cool camping gear. So join us tomorrow. Just go to virtualrvshow.com to get signed up for that, virtualrvshow.com. And you can do that. But I was saying I had a little something special for you guys hanging out with us for the last hour. So anybody that types in, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to type this in the chat so you can see this, my instructions. But if you just send me an email, and here's my email address, put in the subject 500 miles. Anybody that's interested in buying an RV right away from RV Wholesalers, if you find one that we can help you with and that fits with your needs, we'll give you a 500-mile credit towards delivery anywhere in the U.S., as long as that's in before they close tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So just a little something for the first 4 people that email me. So yeah, hopefully that'll help.
You staying in mind?
Thanks for hanging out with us, and appreciate you guys for taking time out of your busy day. And
appreciate the time.
So,
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys.
So, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great fall. Hope to see you guys camping.
You bet.